It's enough. It is enough when you come to realize that it is appreciated. Whether it's appreciated by 1,000 or a million, or whether it's appreciated by one. I want to start this lesson this morning, and I'll be somewhat brief. As a result of things that are happening right now, we've had some people to get killed as a result of hatred, racial hatred. We've had people to get killed today, tomorrow. You want to give consideration to that. But before we get into that, let us give praise to our Rasul. Because without him, none of this would be possible. We also want to give thought to the city of Ammon. The city of Ammon, and why we chose to go after this particular project. Because of the importance of this project. The city of Ammon. The city of Ammon idea is nothing new. There were cities before this that were renamed something else years ago. So this idea is nothing new. Essentially, we will be hero of the world in the name of the Most High God. This is a recent photograph of the Fahami as he looks today, which was 1943. He does not claim to be the prophet of Allah, but the prophet of Amun-Ra and the Rabata Hu, which is the successor to the gods of Ham and the house of Ra. The first and only person, living or dead, to ever make such a claim. He says he has no quarrel with Muslims, Jews, or Christians, for his is an entirely different world, yet on friendly terms with all. His teachings and philosophy has made for him hosts of friends and enemies as well, out of their jealousy. Islam simply means Isis, Il, and Amun. Muslim means there are many of the Isis, Ils, and Amuns. Israel simply means Isis, Ra, and Il. Christ simply means Ka, Ra, and Isis. And that is the key to all religions. And they are mine and your ancestors. The incarnated Son, S-O-N, of the S-U-N, and the reincarnation of the gods of Kim. He says, there is no such thing as the so-called Negro, as a Negro race, nor is there a white race, so-called. But we do have Africans and Afro-Americans. So that person who calls himself a white man today, in essence, is an Afro-American, same as the Africans. Black people are not Negroes any more than white people are albinos. Common sense reasoning. Black people are not any more Negroes than white people are albinos. We'll repeat that. For both are of a Latin term. We will go into the lesson, the saint, and we will call this lesson the saint or the saints revisited. The mingled people and the mixed multitude make up the congregation of the saints. All colors, all kinds of the best. Therefore, the greatest civilization that existed was the ancient Hamites, your noble ancestors. And that civilization was built by the hands of the blacks, the so-called whites, the browns, the yellows. And the mixed multitude went up with Moses when he did what? He changed gods in the land of Ham. For he changed from I am to Jehovah. For I am was the God who kept Hebrews in bondage. Here we see that every people that rose to greatness did what? First changed gods and had the help of the so-called whites, the browns, and the yellows, along with their own efforts for survival. So our quarrels are not with the so-called whites, but with ourselves. We will never be a kind of people that we are supposed to be until we accept what our late President Warren G. Harding said back in the 20s. And he was chastised for saying this. People didn't understand what he was saying, but they were so racially motivated that he was ostracized for saying these things. I would inculcate, that is, impress by repetition and teach persistently that a black man cannot be a white man, so-called. The black man should not strive to be a white man, but should strive to be the best black man possible. I would like to see the so-called black man with a culture, a civilization of a given race or nation at a given time, a set of ideals, what a people would wish to be, and a civilization which is self-respect, respect for others, which is the first advanced stages in social development. Of his own, peculiar, singularly to himself, Warren G. Harding. And every nation has a name for God and calls upon God by his different names. And he hears their prayers and delivers them. The Greek prayers are answered in their language, the Romans in the Italian tongue, the Jews in Hebrew, and he will answer ours when we pray in the language of our noble ancestors. The language of the gods is called Ethiopic, Arabic, Hebrew, Egyptian, and others. And every nation has its own prince or master angel, as God declared to Daniel in Chaldea, and your prince and master angel is Raphael, because you are the children of the sun. And the blessed prophet Jesus, called Eli, and Allah are one of the same words, and set up a new civilization or culture for the Jews. Now he did this for the Jews. The Most High, the brain of creation, makes the prophets understand, and the preachers tell it to the people. Pay close attention. Pay close attention. Sometimes, people have to change their God. That is the name of Him. And approach Him from a different way. It is among the Africans that mankind finds the give and take of all things. This is not a habit that has been acquired or adopted, but it is their natural heritage. Being the first and oldest race of man, they have known and experienced all that the rest of mankind is learning in a social sense. It would be well for all to understand this attitude and not misunderstand it for a tactic admission of their supremacy over the Africans. For the most humble never really admit that he is inferior, even when he says so. That is the psychology of the sons of Ham. The Africans, you and me, everywhere, will have to revamp, that is, repair their pre-slavery status, our legal position, before they can again produce another pyramid builder or designer like Khufu of Giza, the world's first master mason, or another Hiram of Tyre, who built Solomon's temple, or a Hannibal of Algeria, Carthage, who was a great warrior, or as an inventor like Phut, called Ptah, like Osiris, Athon, or Adam, Ham and Son, Cush and Mizraim, and Jubal and Jubal-Cain, and virgins and goddesses like Balkis Makeda, queen of Sheba, and Andromeda, queen of beauty, of Isis, mothers of the gods. Here we find names of some of your ancestors. Some of the names of the ancestors that we resurrect by calling on their names. Yes. We resurrect them from the grave to come to our aid. Why? Because we are children of the sun. Negroism, the same thing that you see around you in the cities today, is what they're being practiced today. Negroism. People killing each other. People slaughtering each other. Another form of Negroism. Negroism, in its beginning, began with Simon of Cyrene, North Africa, and ended with Abraham Lincoln. That's what we thought. Negroism ended in Haiti with Toussaint l'Ouverture. The great Gautama Buddha was a product of the sons of Ham. Our pre-Negro status was an honorable one. people of the world, people of this city, the city of Armand, called St. Louis. What the world needs today is a religion of all people, and not merely a Jewish, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, or Christian religion, but a religion that honors equally Jesus, Muhammad, Raha, Krishna, Buddha, Joseph Smith, and all other saviors or prophets of God, regardless of race, creed, or color, or country. The Jews look upon Moses as a true prophet. So do other people regard their prophets. So say not false prophets, or of one of them, for God knows what you do not know. This is another way to the brotherhood of man. That may be a republic, a democracy, a socialism, or whatever they choose to call it. I am convinced, the Rasul said, I am convinced that the colored people will have to return to their pre-Negro status. Not to stay there, but to get a fresh and right start, because the rest of the world are not going to let him build on their usurped premises, nor let him attach his room to their houses. They're not going to do this. No matter how high we rise in stature, no matter how great of diplomacy that you have, you will never be side by side with him. You will always be a convert to him if you follow what he is preaching. He will have to get a few ideas from his ancestors. Your ancestors are waiting now to give you information, like he has given them information to do what they are doing today. The telephone in its infancy, who knows, started out as drums, drum beats. People communicated by way of the drum. And see what we have done from communicating with the drum. We have introduced telephones and computers and all these other things, getting new ideas from the old. And there are things that still need to be discovered by you. He will have to get a few ideas from his ancestors, from the old-time ancient religions, and make them new and modern and up to date. For nearly all of his outstanding achievements are dated before Christ. A term being of error, being in error, for Christ, or the Son of God, has always existed. There's no such thing as BC. That Son has always existed. He, the Son, is the original Christ. Isis, the original virgins. What can the modern blacks, with all of his education, with all of his diplomas, with all the things that he has been taught, what has the modern black showed that ever compares with his ancient civilization? Question. Masonry began and ended with the pyramids. The only building erected by the hands of man that time and the elements have failed to destroy. Is this not true? Is this not true? Yes, true. Those pyramids are there as a witness to the greatness of your achievements, if you just do it.
Since Akhenaten, he has not produced a prophet that even compares with Balaam, the Canaanite. And there are good ones and bad ones all among all the people in the world. All people are not alike, nor are all of one race or nation alike. There are even saints among the Bantu, the Swahili, the Malagasy, the Zanzibari, the Zambezi, and all other tribes or nations, wherever they may be. If this nation or this message goes out to the African brothers who we are said receive some of our message, they in turn will know that we say you are God's. We reach out to you and tell you what your achievements have been, because you too have forgotten them. I would classify, the Rasul said, I would classify as saint some of the following: Atum, Kim, Booker T. Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Queen T, Nefari, Balkis Makeda, Osar, Ori, Frederick Douglass, Menelik, Nat Turner, Dred Scott, John Brown, George Carver, Peter, Isis, Phyllis Wheatley, Harriet Beecher Stowe, Paul Laurence Dunbar, Antar of Arabia, Baal, Marcus Garvey, William Crowdy, Richard Allen, Asaph Lukman, Cadmus William Christian, Benjamin Banneker, Toussaint L'Ouverture, Enoch Idris, Khufu or Siats, Amun Ra, Drew Ali, for our good Morris Science brothers who may be listening to this tape also. We have no argument with you or any of your groups, because we are all brothers. And we acknowledge your leader as being one of the saints or the prophets. Others including Andromeda and Cassiopeia. Among the holy lands and rivers, common sense. We are trying to introduce a common sense reasoning. Among the holy lands and rivers, the Nile, the Zambezi, the Congo, the Ganges, the Amazon, the Mississippi, and some others. Then there is the Jordan, which has been worshipped out of proportion to its importance. Why we to cross over Jordan? What is wrong with the Amazon or the Mississippi? One mountain is just as holy as another. And Cyprus Atok was himself a saint. And blessed be the name of Amun-Ra. The black man has not always been a Negro, even though he has been forced to act like one. He has been forced. How? Through wholesale slavery and foreign culture made him a Negro. So when you see them acting the way that they're acting, they are acting the way that they're acting because this is the way that they were taught. And we weep for them. because of the way that they were being taught. Wholesale slavery and foreign culture made the Negro. The black man has always been with us. As I said, not the Negro. In the sense of race relationship, the Rasul tells us this: I see no harm in any race, so-called white or black, striving to keep their own identity. For those people who are fearful that you are trying to take over their race or what have you, the Rasul made it clear: I see no harm in this. I see no harm in you wanting to hold on to whatever it is that you are holding on to. The bottom line understanding is this, brother and sisters, because he knew that all of them are you. All of them are you. I see no harm if y'all want to hold on to whatever it is, because you are still who you are. I see no harm in any race, white or black, striving to keep their own identity and culture by anti-miscegenation, if they so desire, for men and women of one race who lust after men and women of another race. This so-called love stems directly from prejudice, religious teachings. We say that the most prejudiced book also that you can read is that Christian Bible. That prejudice that has been fostered upon our people today stems directly from the teachings of that book. For the Lord thy God, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God, lest thou take of their daughters unto them thy sons, and their daughters go a-lusting after their own gods. And this would make thy sons go a-lusting after their gods. Genesis 34th chapter, 14th verse through 16th verse. For people and their God are one and the same. Another truth. The Negro, so-called, has not yet been accepted as a true out-and-out Christian, but as a proselyte or convert. Is this not true? Yes. But then still we'll fight, we'll die, and call ourselves good Christians and what have you, and how much we love this Jesus or this Christian idea, when it has done us no good. It has Jim Crowed us. It has instilled hostility by these people to destroy us and do to us what they are doing to us, all under the banner of religion. Akhenaten founded the cult of Christ, or Ra, and started baptism in the waters of the Nile. Brothers and sisters, a solution. The Rasul gives us a solution. Some people talk the talk, but they don't offer a solution to what the problem is. The Rasul gives us a solution here. We started out talking about the saints and who he considered some of the people who were saints. He says this: when we, black people, once unite ourselves into one body with religion, language, history, and a name for God, that will give us a freedom of mind, a freedom of soul, and a freedom of body. Then we will be in a position to go forward as our noble ancestors were doing when the sons of God met the daughters of men. That's what our sons and daughters were doing when the sons and daughters of God, met the daughters of men. They were practicing this. But when they started marrying and intermarrying with these people, They started accepting what these people said, and they forgot what their ancestors had taught them. That we are today, emulating our oppressor. We live, act, talk, and do everything that he does according to him. And yet we want to change. There are some of us, among us, who want to change. We want to see a change. We are tired of being subjected to the same thing over and over again because we know what the end result is going to be. Our new time and adopted creeds has failed to unite us. Is this not true? Because we are still living in heated thoughts. That man who shot all of those people up there, living in heated thoughts, with hatred and jealousy among ourselves. Mr. Negro, who is walking around with his head held high. Mr. Negro, no nation owes us anything. No nation owes us anything. What is owed, we owe it to ourselves. Let us stop being a burden to ourselves as well as a burden on the shoulders of other nations. That's putting it in perspective. That's putting it in perspective. You're all crying about being oppressed while the people who have the money and everything don't feel as though they are being oppressed at all. Our greatest argument in this world we're living in is with ourselves, because we must shoulder our own burdens at the expense of the rich and millionaires of our race, and crying on the shoulders of our so-called white neighbors, because we were created of God just like everybody else. Let us hold our heads up like other men do and read our own holy books and gain the respect of all men, regardless of race, creed, or color, or country. For we too have been blessed of God, because history bears this facts as an altar and a pillar there at the border to the Lord of hosts. Abraham Lincoln was as much a saint or a son of God as any of those mentioned in the Holy Quran or the Holy Bible, for he too saved his people from their sins, just like Frederick Douglass, a saint, and a modern Moses, who agitated the freedom of slaves, and John Brown, a European American, who advocated our liberation. Our 246 years of slavery in America was that which we sowed in Africa. We reaped it in America. The Honorable Paul N. Johnson, peace be upon him, in remembrance of him and in dedication of the city of Almond, the city of truth. The Honorable Paul N. Johnson, the culture prophet to the Afro-Americans as well as those in Africa, left for us a book from God to his people, just like Moses left the Torah to the Jews and Muhammad left the Quran to the Arabs. Jesus and the Injil, that was put in the hands of the Afghans of India. With that, my God, to God is our faith. Peace be with you. This is